Hello, 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 hello. I think we are live. Finally, welcome everyone. I see from the chat that you are coming from all over the world, and now I'm really anxious because it will be a super fun evening together. So, welcome from vision to image, creating a seascape. Just a brief introduction, and then we can start to work together. So, my name is Francesco Gola, and I'm an Italian seascape photographer. That means that I love landscape photography, but among all landscape, let's say that I have a particular affection for the sea. I've been working in photography for over 15 years, and for the past 10 years, let's say, I've also been involved in education, which is one of the reasons why we are here together this evening. So over the years, I had also the pleasure to and honor to work with some of several leading brands in the industry, including Calibrite, that is hosting now today. And on the website, I think is the website, but it should be somewhere here. I don't know where I am with the webcam, but so you should see also my socials. So you can contact me through Facebook, Instagram, and we can stay connected also after this presentation. So, as I told you, I'm really in love with the sea, and so when we are not here together, maybe you can find me along the coast, over some cliff, maybe in the UK, in France, in Italy, or over the world, because I really love to spend my time in nature. And just 1 second of extra spam. So this is my website, and I tell you not just because I want you to see my picture, of course, but also because there is a workshop area where we can discuss more deep about the topics of this evening, but also especially because there is a blog section where you can find many articles about the topic that we are going to discuss this evening. So I will also tell you later when there is an article that you can read it. So, well, good to know. So here in this webinar, we have like around 1 hour to discuss. And you have also a section for chatting and for submitting your question. I will try to monitor the chat, even if I need to be a bit more focused on the presentation, of course. But please, if you have any question, any doubt, use the proper section here so I can track your question. And at the end of the webinar, we can maybe we can discuss deeper. Just write me if there is any issue with the audio or the video. I will try to fix it as soon as possible. But there is an amazing team from Lumesca that is supporting me. So, well, let's start. Maybe I will turn off just the webcam now because my face is not so nice, and it's better if you see the presentation in a bigger size. But don't worry, because I will pop up later when it's needed. So let's start to discuss about the topic of today. So today's webinar, let's say that is a bit different from the usual for me, because what I'd like to do is to take you through the entire process that led me to create a single image. So it sounds like very little, but I truly hope you will change your mind by the end, because actually we have so many topics to discuss, and I don't know if we have really the time to go through all of them, because I really love to talk, unfortunately. So, one single image, and we will discuss mainly about 3 topics that are planning, so how to prepare for creating a picture, execution, so what to do in the field, and then at the end, what to do when we are going back home, let's say to post-produce our image and to do it with your laptop or any system you have in order to post-produce and edit your picture. So managing colors is the main topic that we will address. So this evening we are discussing in really detail this specific picture. So this is a picture that was taken in Cornwall almost 1 year ago. And this is one of the probably most iconic location there, is Bedrutan Steppe. I see from the chat that a lot of you are coming from the UK, and that's great. So you can give me a feedback on the location and on the planning later on. But yeah, that's the picture that we are going to discuss. And let's say that when you see an image like this, I think that you might think it's just a matter of finding the location and showing up at the right time to get this image. But well, at the end, it is not really like that. And what I want to share, and what I hope to share with you this evening, is that if we do something way before to go there, we definitely increase the chances of success if we really prepare to taking pictures way before going to the shooting location. I don't want to tell you already now, all the details about this picture. So in terms of shutter speed and let's say the ISO or the settings, because it's something that we will do together step by step, because we are really far from the moment we are going to take this picture. We are still at the very beginning of the process. And in this process, I think that for me, the key is what I call planning, because for me, really, planning is the key in order to be at the right place at the right time, not to be 100% sure to get the picture that you want, but for sure to increase the chances you have to take a nice picture. So if I try to break down the time I spend on any picture that I've published on my website or on social media, well, I can say that I will find for every picture something like that. So that the most of the time I spend on a picture is for the planning. So for the time that I spend way before I go to the field. Then, of course, we have some time in the field for, let's say, refining all the planning we had. And then there is a lot of planning, a bit of post-production, of course, that the 20% that I told you. But in general, I mean, taking the picture, shooting, is like, for me, just the 5% of the time I spend on a picture. And this evening, I will try to show you why. So let's say that the first step, I will try to share with you what are my, let's say, 5-step method. That is basically the 5 things I do in order to be at the right place at the right moment, hopefully. So let's start from the beginning. So the number 1. So the first one is define your goal, is what I say, define your goal. And this looks really like, I mean, the first step is, to me, is something that is as simple as essential, because this is what will drive you to the final image. But how to find something that is inspiring, how to find the inspiration? Well, there are several ways, in my opinion. And well, we can research an interesting location in many ways nowadays, because, for example, we can find it on a magazine, we can find it on a book, we can find it in movies, and of course on social media. So it's not a secret that a few years ago I set a trip in the UK just because I found in Italy in a supermarket a shampoo label with a lighthouse on top of it. So I decided to find it and to take a picture of that lighthouse. Maybe later I will show which one is it. But well, there are several ways to do that thing. And I mean, for this specific picture, that again was taken in the UK, that is one of my favorite coastline in the world, because it's just beautiful. I took advantage of a kind of photographic guide. Basically, there are some, you can find it for every country in the world, but the one that I probably found, it was specifically done for the UK. And it's like a travel guide that is from the PhotoVoo. I really don't know how to spell it, but maybe you will help me on that. But basically, is let's say, is a series of books that are created by local expert photographers, where they share all the information about a location. So it's a great way to find inspiration, because you can see not only great picture from other photographers, but you can find also how they decided to go there and when to go there, for example. I will show you, I will pop up again with the webcam. Hello again. So for example, this is the one that I use for this specific trip, so for going to Cornwall, and this is the one that you can see here. Now I will show you some digital page in the PDF, but basically it's a super nice booklet, pretty thick, where you can find a lot of information about the location that you want to visit. And I will disappear again, goodbye. So inside these kind of guides, for example, in the one that I bought for this trip, for Cornwall, you can find detailed maps. And of course, it's something really interesting because it will save you a lot of time. And for every location, you can find, let's say, detailed information. So about we can find some sample image, what to shoot, how to go there, and the best time to visit. Of course, as you can see probably from the screen, this one is really not the right one because I didn't have the page of the Cornwall bedroute and step, but you have more or less an idea of what you can find inside this guide. So again, the first step, in my opinion, is always to define a goal in order to really to be prepared and to be inspired in order to take your picture. My second step, and this is really a crucial step that, in my opinion, is nowadays absolutely essential, is what I call digital scouting. So let's say that I truly believe that digital scouting is without any doubt one of the most powerful tools at our disposal nowadays, because thanks to the technology available, we can really literally explore the location where we want to shoot long before we ever set foot there. So let's say that our main ally is called satellite imagery, and thanks to tools like Google Earth, we can access it completely free of charge. So Google Earth is this application that you can download both from your computer and for your laptop, for the mobile phone, for your smartphone, and is really a great tool. And when I decided to go there for taking this picture, of course, I took advantage of this tool. And now I will try to show you what you can see from this app. So now I will need to make some magic. Let's see if it's working. So I will remove the presentation for a second, and I will share my screen, entire screen. I hope you will see me. Now you see the endless loop. I'm sorry, but it's really needed to do. Okay, so now you should be able, maybe write me on the chat if you can see properly. But basically here I'm on my, let's say, tablet, and I'm using Google Earth. So for example, I can look for the specific location. So in this case, it was bedroute and step. And so I can really walk in a digital way to the location way before I go there with my feet. So I can really plan, I can really spend evenings in trying to find nice location, nice composition, or to really to already understand what I will see when I'll be there. And the interesting thing about this tool is that nowadays we have access to three-dimensional maps. And that's the great advantage of this application. So for example, this bedroute and step is quite an iconic location if you are living in the UK. But maybe if you are living in the US and you want to travel this area and you will see something like this from the satellite, you immediately notice, if you're in love with seascape photography, that this can be something really interesting. And so after spending a few hours maybe exploring the coast, because this is of course with global coverage, we can identify in this location something nice. And I already can identify where I want to explore with my feet when I'll be there. So, for example, to me, this area looks really interesting because I see that, there are many rocks, nice cliffs, some green things. And yeah, it seems to be really a nice thing. So let's go back to our presentation and stop sharing. Let's share the presentation again. Let's see in the chat if you see. Okay, you see it. Perfect. Thank you very much. Because when I'm sharing my tablet, unfortunately, I don't have any visual feedback of what I'm doing. So I truly hope it's working. So as you can see, digital scouting can make really the difference because we can really have access to the location way before we are going there. And that's great also because if you are stuck in the office and you want to travel with your mind, that's a nice way to play. But now we have a location, so we have an idea. We have a location, so it's bedroot and step, but it's not enough, in my opinion, because let's say that the next step to me, the third step, is what I call predict the light. What does it mean? Because let's take my picture again. You should see it from the presentation. And well, if we look at this picture, whether you like it or not, of course, because it's super subjective. I really like this picture. That's why I want to share this detailed with you. It's like this section of a picture tonight. So if we look at this picture, so we can probably in any case all agree that the light is a key element in this picture. So the fact that the sun is positioned right there and not elsewhere, in my opinion, makes all the difference. And later on, we will see in terms of composition why this is so important to me. But the problem is that if you decide to go there today, or maybe later you have a bank holiday and you decide to go to this location, you might be in for an unpleasant surprise because the sun at the sunset, this was a picture taken at the sunset, will be probably in a completely different position. Why? Well, the reason is pretty clear to you, I'm sure, because you know that during the year, the position of the sun and at the sunrise and the sunset change because of course, the seasons and how long is the day in terms of daylight, and what to do with that? How can we predict the position of the sun? Well, nowadays, again, thanks to technology, this is pretty easy because, for example, we can take advantage of one of the most powerful applications, in my opinion, in order to have this kind of sun prediction, let's call it like that, sun forecast, that is called photopills. Photopills is like, here I write that is the Swiss knife of photography, because actually it's not just what I'm going to show you now, but it's really a set of tools that you can use in every moment. And well, with this tool, I can predict the position of the sun for any desired location. So now, once again, I just want to share with you my screen in order to show you a practical example of the use of photopills. I will be really quick because, well, we can spend the whole evening on photopills. But we don't have time. So let's do like this. Let's share again my screen. Be patient, please. Okay, so now you have the infinite loop. We move to my tablet again, and we are all connected again. So we have photopills, and we can take our location. We can load the location. Let's go to the Bedroot. You should find it. Yes, let's go here. Is probably not this warehouse, but it should be quite close to it. Yeah, I see it's here. So basically with photopills, just pressing with my finger on a location, as you can see, let's disable all the other not interesting thing. As you can see, you see on the right side a yellow line, that is the line of the sunrise. and the orange line on the left side, that is the line of the sunset. So, for example, now is set on today. So you see that the sunset will be like here, where you see this moving. But of course, if we go there on another day, it can be completely different. So let's check, for example, in June, let's say mid-June. Done. You see that the position of the sun is completely different. Same way, if we go there, for example, in, I don't know, let's say in January, February, something like that, the position of the sun will be completely different. It will not be in my frame. So how to understand when to go there? Of course, you can just play with this, but Photopills has so many other functions. So for example, you can really even find when the sun will be on a specific direction. So this again is not a webinar specifically done for Photopills, but it's just to show you that with this, I can really find the day, the perfect day, when to go there. So for example, here I'm asking Photopills when the sun will set on that direction, so zero elevation, and on that direction where you see the yellow line, and just pressing a button, Photopills is giving me all the day where the sun will be setting there. So for example, it's quite close. So if on the 2nd of May you are in the area, you will have the sun in the right position. So Photopills for this is really exceptional in my opinion. So let's go back to our presentation. Let's end the infinite loop and let's go back to the presentation. So let's move to the next step. So the next step is predicting the tide. Because in my opinion, again, if we check at this picture, without any doubt, another defining element of this image, of course, is the sea. But if you don't live by the coast, or if, like me, your most familiar sea is the Mediterranean, where the water level seems like something that you can take for granted. I mean, if you live somewhere outside of the Mediterranean Sea, in front of the real ocean, let's say, you may once again face to a serious challenge that you're not prepared for, that are the tides. Because probably you will remember from your school that, I mean, tides are a thing. So tides are the result of the gravitational pull of the moon and the sun. And so basically, if you have a huge mass of water, this will be affected by the position of the sun and the moon. So basically, you can have high tide, low tide, and something in between. And you know that already when you are in the scouting phase, in the digital scouting phase, because, for example, when we were checking the Google Earth map, I mean, I'm sure that you noticed that all the sea stacks were quite dry and the shoreline was far away. This means that probably when this satellite picture was taken, it was really in the low tide. So how to deal with that? Once again, there are several tools that we can play with. And one of these tools, I mean, I can't recommend here a specific tool like I did with Photopills or Google Earth, but basically both for your iPhone, I mean, for your smartphone and even for the laptop, you can find different forecast services that can tell you the level of the tide on a specific location on a specific day. Here is a bit more complicated because, I mean, with most of the website and most of the application that you can download, you can really find information in the past. But for the future, I mean, if you want to have a forecast in 6 months or in 8 months, you probably have to pay a license. That's the only disadvantage. But for sure, if you want to just check the tide on the next day or in the next few days, I'm 100% sure that you will find the data. So just remember that every day the tide will be different. So what is high tide, the time of the high tide and low tide on a specific day will be different on the next day, because as you can see from this chart already, the level of the tide can change. I mean, it will change every almost 6 hours, if I'm not wrong, but in any case, it's like that. So absolutely important to remember about the tide. The last element that I really consider when I'm planning my picture like this one is the weather, of course, because the weather, I think that is, for me, one of the most complex aspects of planning, because unlike the position of the sun or the tide, that we can predict with a certain kind of accuracy, weather consistently reminds us that nature is always in charge, in my opinion. You know, I mean, when you may have carried out the perfect planning, but if that stubborn cloud decides to settle right on the horizon at the sunset, or if a storm is moving faster or slower than expected, well, everything can fall apart. And that's a frustration that if you're a landscape photographer, probably you know very well. But that said, it doesn't mean that we should give up. Actually, it's quite the opposite. In my opinion, it means that we need to just study a bit more so we can give ourselves the greatest possible advantage. In terms of weather, when I'm planning, I always try to split the weather in long, mid, and short-term forecasts. So I will check the forecast at different moments of the day. Of different moments in the year. So we have long-term forecasts that, for example, are what I call seasonal forecasts, that are from 1 year to 1 week. And I think that these are really important, especially in a picture like the one I'm sharing with you, for example, because for the flower blossoming, if we check the picture that I want to analyze with you, I'm going back a few charts just to show it. You can see that we have some flowers in the foreground. I'm not sure about the name. I'm not really expert, but they should be sea tree. I don't know if somebody in chat can confirm or can give us the right name, but I mean, the blossoming of the flowers is something that you don't expect in wintertime. So it's good to know when to go there. In the same way, more we go closer to the moment we plan to take our picture, the weather forecast can be more and more accurate. And in order to get the best, so Thrift is the name of the seeping flower. Thank you, Tony, for great. So now I can confirm that it's Thrift. Let's go back. Here, when I want to plan, about weather, I try to use the windy.com platform. I don't know if you're already familiar with that thing, but with Windy, basically we can get forecasts from, let's say, 1 week to real time. And so we can get really the weather channel forecast in a very detailed way. I will just quickly show you the interface of Windy, because I think it's really nice. So again, I will stop the presentation. I will share my screen. I will go here, and now I already prepared a windy.com page. So here is the UK. So basically, Windy is just a weather forecast application. It's just not a weather forecast application, but it's a service. It's a platform that provides you several information. We can activate different layers according to what we want to see, from dew point, humidity, wind gust, and of course, what is most important to us, clouds coverage that can be divided in high clouds, medium clouds, low clouds. So with this application, because it's also not a portal, but also an application for the mobile phone and for the smartphone, I can really try to predict the weather. And let's check this picture, for example, the one that we are discussing this evening. So I must say that here I was pretty excited when I checked the forecast of the evening, because in this image we have let's say all the clouds layer in the proper proportion. So we have medium clouds that are the ones that sometimes they try to disturb our sunset activity, because usually when you have a sunset, when you have let's say the cloud that is covering the horizon line at the last minute, usually it is a medium cloud, because it can be so huge that can really cover the entire let's say till the horizon line. We have high clouds that are really nice. They are always helping us, because usually they are kind of reflecting a bit the light. So when the light is not so intense, they can enhance the warm tones of a sunset. And we have the low clouds that are always nice, the puffy low clouds that are usually running really, really fast in the sky. And here I was pretty lucky, because of course the amount of low clouds was really low. But what should I expect when I watch the forecast in windy, for example? Well, when I was looking at the weather forecast, I was seeing something like that. So for the high clouds, I was seeing something like, over my head, there was almost nothing, but in front of me, I had a kind of this huge layer. In terms of medium clouds, I had this kind of huge amount of clouds that it was almost overcast for the forecast. And for the low clouds, as the picture, as you saw on my image, we had just a few clouds. So the red dot is always our position. So now the big question is, but how can I understand from the forecast if it's good or not good to go? Well, let's say that there are several ways, and I wrote a couple of blog articles on my website, and I will show you later the link, so you can save it for later maybe. But so the general idea you have to keep in mind is that, unfortunately, the Earth is not flat. So it means that I think that flat Earth is one of the dream of every landscape photographer, because if the Earth was flat, actually the clouds, the sun rising and setting will be always able to send us some light to our camera, because clouds will never cross the horizon line. But unfortunately, in real life, where we have the real Earth that is round or something like that, clouds will follow basically the surface of the Earth, and so at a certain point, for us, they will slip down to the horizon line, and so they can block the ray of light, so we can get nice colors or not according to that. So it's pretty complicated, of course, to understand this just looking at these images, because you don't know actually where the horizon line is, so you don't know if you will get good light or not. But actually, to help you on that, I developed an absolutely free plugin for windy.com that will help you on understanding if the cloud will block the light or not during a sunset or a sunrise. Here you have a QR code, just if you want to take a picture or if you want a snapshot, so you can scan it later. But in any case, again, on my blog, you will find everything. So this is a pretty long and boring article, but the idea is to giving you the tool in order to make the same forecast that I'm doing when I'm out there. And so let's say that after the reading of the article, I'm 100% sure that you will 100% be excited to see something like that, because you will understand immediately that if the forecast is correct, and you are not sure of that, you have high chances to have the light passing through the clouds. And so in details, you can get something like that. And I was really lucky, because the forecast was quite accurate. And that's not bad. Again, reading the weather is not so easy. So here there is another article, same idea. So you scan the code or you save the code and you can check the article later. But here again, the idea is to give you some practical advices on how to use windy.com for landscape photography. I'm not affiliate with Windy, and everything you will find on my website is absolutely free of charge. So just enjoy. And okay, so now we have a nice plan. So we know where to go, we know when to go, and we pray the gods of weather that they will cooperate for our sunset. So the next step to create that picture, of course, is to have something inside our backpack. Actually, that is not really important, because 100% you can take the picture that I took you with any camera brand, any accessory. I mean, it's not important what you have in your backpack. In my opinion, it's more important how to use it. But in order to tell you what I did for my picture, that's my gear. So now I'm using a Fuji medium format camera, but it's quite recent, this thing, because I was using until a couple of years ago, Nikon D850, great camera. So a wide angle lens, in that case, is a GF 20-35mm, but is a medium format, so it's like a 16 to 28 in full frame, converted to full frame. A very sturdy tripod, because if you live in the UK, but everywhere in the world, if it's windy, you need something sturdy. A remote shutter actually was not absolutely necessary for my camera, but in general, it's good to have something to control the shutter speed over 30 seconds in your camera, if you want to take long exposure, of course. And then some filters. And I'm using, in particular, Muse filters, because they are really color cast free. So the quality is the same quality of the glass of my lens, and they are color cast free. Let's say that I'm using, to create this picture, I use 3 different type of filter. And we will check all of them in details. So I use an ND filter to reduce the shutter speed, a graduated density filter, GND, to balance the exposure, and a polarizer to remove the diffraction. So before checking in details how to use these 3 filters for this specific picture, the question could be, but why should I use filter? It's 2025, we can do everything in post-production. So, well, the first answer to this thing is that actually for me it's way more funny and interesting to live the experience in the field. So I want to have the struggle of taking a good picture in the field. And that's why I'm using filters. So this picture, like every other picture that you will see on my website, is the result of a single exposure. So there is no blending, there is no some post-production magic. But another reason is that not all you can do, you can't do in post-production, you can replicate in post-production all you can do with filters in the field. So, for example, ND filters and polarizer are not possible to be recreated in post-production in a proper way, especially the polarizer. And then in terms of graduated filter, again, I use graduated filter because I love the idea to do it in the field in just one take and not to blend different exposure. And it's also quite difficult to do for long exposures. But also because, basically, the reason is that your eyes see better than your camera. So if you are in front of a sunset, like that sunset, probably with your eyes you can see the details both in the highlights and in the shadow, but for your camera it's completely a different thing. So basically with a graduated filter, it's like putting the sunglasses in front of your camera. So that's a picture that I'm recycling from another presentation, actually, because it's the only one I have. But here I was making the review of this graduated filter, but the idea is that I was with my iPhone, so I think with a good camera, and I was taking a picture of this lighthouse without any filter in front of it, of course, because usually you don't have filters in front. But when you use a graduated filter, you can basically cover the bright part of the scene, and so your camera is able to detect the right amount of light. I will turn on the webcam for a second. So that's a graduated filter. So it's just a glass filter if it's a good quality. And as you can see, there is a dark area on the top that you place exactly in front of the bright area in the sky, and that's how you can control the light. In this specific picture, I was using a reverse 4-stop graduated filter, because this filter is really perfect in order to block the light when you have the light source really in front of you. So it's a filter that is stronger around the horizon line, and then it fades to clear to the top. So the area that is affected by the filter is the central part. So in this way, you can really reduce the amount of light that your sensor is receiving. The second filter that I use is the polarizer. That polarizer to me is the magical filter, because really the polarizer is the only and one filter that you can't reproduce in post-production, because it's the one that you use to remove reflection. So for example, in this picture, I was able to use it to remove a bit of the reflection of the sea really in front of the flowers, like I highlighted in the picture. But it's also great in situation like this one with the frontal light, because with a filter I can really, let's say, try to reduce the amount of light that is reflected by the sea, and so I can control the exposure in the camera. I think this is my really favorite filter, and if I have to pick one filter to go in the field, this would be the one, because again, it's priceless. So if you never use it, consider at least to try it. An example, a real life example from another location, because I think it's pretty clear how powerful it can be, a polarizer. This is a picture taken without any polarizer, and the same picture just using a polarizer. As you can see, is from night to day or day to night. I don't know how to say it, but basically that's the result. So the reflection is completely removed, and that's just thanks to the polarizer. So it's the filter that you want to have even if you're not into long exposure or one-take pictures, let's say. Let's go with the ND filter. The ND filter is pretty similar to the previous one, but is just like a square filter. So I try to replicate the picture that I steal from somebody online. So it's a glass filter, full black, and the idea of this filter is basically to reduce the amount of light that our sensor is receiving. So basically this filter can come in different density. So it can be dark or super dark, extremely dark, and that's called the density. And according to the density, in my opinion, you can really take advantage of the available light. For example, if I'm taking a picture just before the sunrise or after the sunset, when we are really with low light environment, and I want to extend the shutter speed, in any case, I'm going to, for sure, use a 3-stop filter. But in a picture like this one, I wanted to use something really dense. So I used an 8-stop filter. I know that most of you will probably say that a 10-stop filter is most common. That's true, but nowadays I feel that the 8-stop is the perfect ND filter for this kind of strong light situation. And thanks to it, I was able to slow down the shutter speed to 2 minutes. So I'm super sorry. So this exposure is a 2-minute exposure. Sorry, I need some water. Okay, super sorry. So basically, filters can be combined together, and that's at the end how I did. So I used the graduated filter to balance the sky exposure, the reverse filter, an ND to extend the shutter speed, and so I could capture this nice movement of the cloud, and the polarizer to remove the reflection in the water. How can you use all the filter together? There are 3 filters and you have just 2 hands, and it can be complicated. So usually we use something that is called like filter holder. That is a device that you attach in the front of your camera, that you have a polarizer, as you can see, already installed, and then you have few slots where you can slide in all the specific filters. So that's a really nice thing if you love this kind of landscape photography. And this is exactly the device I used to create this picture. Goodbye again. So now that we have everything in our backpack, let's say that we are stepping in the field, and let's talk a bit about composition, because I feel that composition is more than half of a picture. And I also think that, unfortunately, composition is one of the most complex topics that we can discuss this evening, and probably even 3 hours are not enough to discuss about composition. But the idea is that composition can really boost your image, because it's like the base structure of everything else. So how did I create this picture in terms of composition? So once again, in my opinion, the first thing to do is to try to identify the subject of this picture. I mean, the subject of the picture I wanted to create. In my opinion, of course, it was the light. Of course, the position of the sun was just it was just perfect. I mean, I was planning to go there because the light was there in that position, and of course, I was hoping for some sea drift. I don't know if the pronunciation is correct, but that's the idea. So flowers are definitely a subject here, and that's why I decided to go there at the end of April. This picture was taken at the very end of April, really, like it was on the 13th of April, something like that. And so these are my two subjects. So my next, so I asked to myself, but how can I emphasize the subjects? And I used to use the leading line. So I try to take advantage of the shape of the landscape in order to get some nice effect for my eye. I try to drive the eye inside of the composition. So, for example, I start from the left, where I have this kind of huge rock that is creating an high contrast with the sea, and so my vision is attracted to there. And then, thanks to the foreground, I try to drive the eye through the flowers to the sun. And this, I think, is quite pleasant. But the fact that it's pleasant is also, in my opinion, due to other small details. For example, one of these details is that I try to, I frame the sea. So one advice that I want to give you, especially for seascape photography, actually it's only for seascape photography, but is try not to cut the line of the coast, because otherwise you create a kind of distraction, and you will start to ask to yourself to why there is something missing, what's there. But in this way, if you have a pleasant line of the coast, is just another leading line for your eye. Then, of course, try to spend some time in order to refine your composition, because refining composition can be even just moving few steps to the left or to the right. And in this way, I was able to avoid overlapping objects, because if you overlap two rocks, of course, you will kill a bit of depth in the image. But in this way, I was able to find a position where all the sea stacks were cooperating. And then that's the most difficult one, I must say, but I want to share with you, is the idea to use what I call nature's filter. So when you take a picture when you want to take a picture, especially a long exposure picture, with the sun in the frame, of course, taking a right exposure of the sun is almost impossible, because the light will be too strong. So what I tend to do is to, it's not my choice, but if I can do, I will do that, is to try to play with clouds. So I try to take a picture when the cloud maybe is starting to move, and they start to cover in the sun. And so after a few minutes, the sun will be exposed to my sensor, but not for the whole 2 minutes, but just for, let's say, a few seconds, in order to create, to give to my sensor the right amount of light without clipping the highlights. This is super complicated, so I want really to tell you that it's more by chance that you get the right exposure. But of course, if you know what to do, you can play with that, and you will not be disappointed if I mean, you clip the image, taking the exposure. So here, basically, my strategy was to try to take few exposure, 2-minute exposure, from the moment when the cloud was on the left side, where you see the circle that is dotted, until the right side. So after the cloud was crossing entirely the sky. So this is again really complicated. So basically here I talk like 4 exposure. So let's say 8 minutes. So 2 minutes, 2 minutes, 2 minutes, 2 minutes. And at the end, the very last one probably was the right picture, because I was able to get the sun not covered entirely by the cloud, and the cloud for most of the time of the exposure was covering the sun, creating this kind of natural filter. As you noticed, probably I didn't speak about any compositional rule, because I'm quite against compositional rule. But if you check at the, let's say, rule of thirds, you will see that this image will fit more or less the rule of thirds. I feel that this is just a consequence, because if you know what to do, and if you try to find the pleasant, a pleasant subject, and you can try it, and you use the right leading lines to create a picture, it's kind of automatic that the picture will fit somehow in any kind of harmonious composition. So my advice here is not to stuck into something like that. Into using at any cost one of these kind of harmonious scheme, but maybe just refine your composition at the end after considering again the subject, leading lines, and all the other elements. So the tip is, don't be slave of schemes or things like that. Okay, so at this point, let's say it's time to take a picture. And so it's the moment when, let's see if I can share with you the video. Here are the setting of my shooting. So basically, I told you that I'm using a medium format camera. So here, not to have like headache, I decided to convert to full frame setting. So the idea was to take a picture at f11 in order to maximize the depth of field, because I really wanted to have everything in focus. I tried to use the lowest ISO available in my camera, that was ISO 50, in order really to reduce this amount of light coming to the camera. And I tried, as I told you, to have like a 2-minute exposure. 2-minute exposure is a choice. It's not a mandatory thing. It's not your doctor that is saying you that you have to do like that. But it's really something that to me is really pleasant, because let's go back for a second to the image. With 2 minutes, I can really smoothen the sea, I can take the movement of the cloud, and I can have like this kind of nice silky effect in contrast to everything else. So to me, it's like a kind of magic number. The metering mode is how the camera is detecting light. I'm using the matrix mode. I don't know if on every camera is called in the same way, but basically I asked the camera to evaluate the amount of light on the entire frame, because what I want is to get details in the whole area. So I'm not taking a picture of just a single element like a bird or a bride, but I want to have the entire scene. The focal length in terms in this picture was around 18 millimeters. I'm working a lot with the wide angle lens, because I really like to have as much as I can inside of on the frame. So it's like the best way. For me, it's really the best way. And in terms of file, of course, RAW, there is no explanation of that. Remember that RAW file let you get all the information from the I mean, you can really use your sensor and you can do the post-production. If you save your picture in JPEG, of course, you don't have much margin when you download your picture, but this is not something that I have to say probably. So I want to take the question of Leon. Thank you. How did you choose the focus point? And that's a very good question, and I take it because it's part of the presentation. So let's go back once again to the field. So we are in the field, we have our camera with our settings, and now we have to focus. That's the nightmare in landscape photography. So focusing can be quite challenging, and you know that because sometimes you take a picture and you think that everything is on focus, and then your foreground is blurry, your background is so what to do? I mean, should I always focus stack picture and to have edge in post-production? So the answer is it depends. But once again, all my pictures are taken with a single exposure. So what I tend to do is to try to find a way in order to get everything in focus in the same picture. How to do that? So let's make an example, a practical example. So let's say that once again, I was using a Fuji medium format and blah, 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 but let's convert to the full frame world. So let's say that I was shooting with my beloved D850 at 21 millimeter and f11, okay? So, if I want to focus, let's say what we want to do, of course, is to get everything in focus. But can we do that? So if we focus on the flowers or in one of the subject, well, you know the rules in photography. And so if I focus an object that is close to me, my depth of field will be pretty narrow. So for example, if I focus at 0.5 meter in front of me, I will get a depth of field that is from 0.3 meter to 1 meter. So everything else will be out of focus. So these numbers are taken from any table that you can find online. You can find from Photopills, but that's just math. So f11, 21 millimeter. If you focus at 0.5 meter, you have this depth of field. Maybe you can, according to the table, you can check maybe some centimeters can be different, but the right amount, the depth of field amount is more or less the same. So you may say, okay, let's go for focus on infinity. And I must say that the 80% of my workshop clients started to do like that. Actually, it's a good idea, but only if you don't have any foreground, because if I focus on infinity, once again at 21 millimeter at f11, from the math, I will find out that everything will be in focus from 1 meter to infinity. So for sure, my foreground will be out of focus. And of course, we don't want that because we basically planned the trip to go there to take the sea trip in front of the sunset, and we want them in focus. So what to do? What I do is to use what is called hyperfocal technique. That is something that is scaring most of the time, but it should not be like that. Basically, the hyperfocal technique is saying that there is a specific distance, one and one only distance for every f-stop and focal length. So for f11 and 21 millimeters, there is one specific distance that in this case from the mat is 0.97 meters, that if I focus at that specific distance, everything will be in focus from that point to infinity, and from that point to half of it in my direction. So everything will be in focus from 0.5 meter more or less to infinity. And so you understand that in most of the cases, I want to say in the 90% of the cases, unless you want really to have a super close-up of the flower, you can avoid focus stacking because you have just to focus at the right point. So yeah, I'm reading comments about autofocus, back button focus. Everything is okay. The important thing is to focus in the right point, because the camera is, you have to tell the camera where to focus. And in my opinion, the hyperfocal technique is the best. So, but now we have a couple of problems, of course. The first one is how to know the hyperfocal distance. There are many ways. I mean, you can calculate it, but of course, when you're on top of a cliff, is really the last thing that you want to do, believe me, especially if it's raining or windy or snowing. You can have with you tables. You can use application like PhotoPills once again, or if you are using a prime lens, you can read the hyperfocal distance directly on the barrel of the lens. But even if you find the number, I mean, if you find that you need to focus at 0.97 meters, how to focus at 0.97 meters? Once again, think that you are in the field with the wind, with maybe snow, raining, so you can't definitely find 0.97 because you can't measure it. But you can do other things, for example. So if your camera is pretty new, you can have the focus peaking feature. So it basically is a feature that is activating a colored overlay in your display, and you will be able to see when everything is in focus. Is working? Yes. Trust it, take a picture, but then review the picture, because sometimes it's not super accurate. Actually, my best suggestion, so what I do in the 99.9% of the picture I do, is like the approximation. So what you see in the second slot. So basically, I consider the grid of the rule of thirds, and I focus at any point in the red line that you see here. So on the lower horizontal line of the grid of the rule of thirds. If you do like that, 110% you will not be in hyperfocal, but you will be close enough probably to have everything in focus. So the best advice here is really to try this approximation. You take one picture and then you review it. If everything is in focus, you're set. If not, maybe probably you need to adjust a bit, but still you can probably avoid to go in focus stacking. If not possible, of course, we have to do something different. So we focus stack our image. So we take one or more picture for the background, one or more picture for the foreground. Here probably I inverted the text under the picture, but you got the point. And then in post-production, you combine the picture to take, to assemble it to the final, to get the final image. So it's really up to you. But of course, I will suggest you to try to avoid this kind of overdoing things in post-production. I'm always checking the messages. I see that I have some probably buffering issue. I hope now is everything is back okay. So okay, let's see if the connection sounds work. Well, don't forget that in any case, we have this webinar will be recorded, so you can, of course, watch it later, hopefully, because everything will be recorded. So don't worry. I hope the connection will last. For the last part of this webinar, I will try not to go too long. But we need to talk about one last topic, in my opinion. That is what I say, managing colors. So let's say that you have taken your shot and now you rush home to start the post-processing. So let's say that regardless of your and my editing workflow that, of course, we can cover here, I'm sure that you will hopefully reach a point where you're satisfied with the result of the post-production, let's say. So let's say that you are living on a desert island. I will say that that result will be the only possible reality. So if anyone viewing the image will judge it, it will be just from a subjective standpoint, because of course that's the only computer available on the island. The problem is that once you publish your image online, you may have some unpleasant surprise. And the reason is that color is device dependent. So it means that to varying degrees, every screen will display colors differently if left uncalibrated. So I'm pretty sure that you are pretty familiar with an image like this. If you go to a mall where they sell TV screen, you will see in loop the same video on all the screen, and all the images will look differently. And the reason, again, is just because the color is device dependent. So if you don't do anything, the display will, it will reproduce the colors in a slightly different way. So to solve this issue, we can let's say follow some standards that are defined by the International Color Consortium. That means the abbreviation is ICC, and I'm pretty sure that you already familiar with these ICC terms. But basically, in order to fix this issue, we have to, what we say, characterize the specific monitor that we are using, and we have to create what is called the ICC profile. To do that, all you need to have is like a tiny device that is called colorimeter. And there are different models of colorimeters, and we have one, for example, the Calibrate Display 123 that is, let's say, for basic monitor, or for those who are stepping in the color calibration team for the first time. And we have, let's say, more advanced devices like the Calibrate Display HL series that are more suitable for, let's say, retina display or photographic monitors. And I can show you mine because I have it here. So I can turn on the webcam once again, hoping that it will work this time. Yes. So it's a pretty device, it's a pretty nice tiny device, pretty small. But basically, as you can see in this picture, you attach it to the screen, and combine to an application, so a software that is absolutely free and is coming with the colorimeter, is called Calibrate Profiler. We can really characterize our specific monitor. So basically, the software will display in the screen different colors, and this probe that we attach to the screen, to the display, will make a kind of reading of the real color that was emitted by the screen. In this way, the software is able to create a tiny file that is called the ICC profile of your monitor, and so every time your display will try to, will display any picture or any image, it will work to show you something. This tiny profile will go, let's say, to fix the color in order to reproduce the right color without any issue. So it's a great way to be sure that your image will be displayed in the proper way. Of course, on the other end, you should have somebody with the same calibrated monitor. But if you're a photographer, I'm pretty sure that in any case, you want to be sure that you are working on the right colors, because just if you replace your laptop or you replace your screen, you want that in 10 years, in 5 years, your image will look the same. And if you don't do like that, of course, it's not possible. But now, thanks to the release of the new version of Calibrate Profiler, that is this software that is coming with the probe, so the colorimeter, you can now also create the profile for your camera. So using a color checker, that is the thing that you see in the picture over there, that is something that is probably you're pretty familiar. So it's like a color target that is tiny thing that you place in front of your camera and you take a picture of it, you can calibrate your camera. So you can characterize accurately the behavior of your camera in a, let's say, rendering color. So when you post-produce your image, you can activate your camera profile. And so, I mean, you can use your sensor, you can use the sensor of your camera at the most, because you're really creating something that is specific for your camera, and you're not using anymore a generic profile that is provided by Adobe, Capture One, or any brand manufacturer, but you're creating something specifically designed for your camera. And that's great. As we are really at the end, I leave even the camera on. So, of course, calibration, profilation of the camera and of the laptop, the screen in general, can be, I don't want to say complicated, but if you do it for the first time, can be challenging. So for this reason, once again, on my blog, I created few guides, few tutorials in order to let you understand what is important to calibrate and profile a monitor, and how to, of course, to use the different calibrate product. I also want to tell you that at the very end of this webinar, you will find spring sales from, I don't know if it's really the right name, but spring sales from Calibrate. So in any case, you will find a nice offer if you want to step in this kind of color managing. And I really suggest you do that if you never did, because really is a game changer for your photography. I mean, showing your picture in a proper way after so much effort for planning, executing your picture, should be really a must. So that said, really, we are at the end. So I want to say you grazie, because again, I'm Italian, so I have to use my gesture to say some Italian words somehow. And thanks really for coming to this webinar. And if you have any question, please write them in the chat. We have a few minutes left in order to go through them. But if I will not pick your question, don't worry. You can always contact me through my social or just by mail. Maybe it will take a bit of time, but I will reply to the 100% of the mails that I'm receiving. So thanks again for coming, and let's check if we have a few questions. And I'm scrolling. Thanks for all the nice comments. I'm really sorry for the issue we had. I don't see. I really don't see any big question. So, well, I see Derek that is asking if you use manual focusing with focus peaking activated, you will visually see what is in focus. That's exactly what I was thinking about with focus peaking. So it can be really useful. And I see another question. Oh, how do you manage hot pixel with this long exposure? Some tips, recommendation. Thanks, Daniel, for the question. So it's really a good point. Let's see if I have a chart about that, because I think it was in my backup. So, okay, let's talk about noise for a second, hot pixel. So basically, the short answer to this question is I try to reduce as much as I can the ISO, and between one image to another one, I try to wait, let's say 30 seconds at least, if possible, to cool down the sensor. Because when we get noise in our image, we can have noise for different reasons. Actually, here is wrong, because I say that my image ISO was 100, but it was 50, as I told you before, so sorry for this typo. But in any case, the point is that you can get different kind of noise. We can get the bending noise, that is the noise when you open the shadow too much in your image, and that's something that you can't control, actually, because it's something related to the sensor and the specific brand. if you own a Canon, as I did, probably you know this pain. You have pattern noise, that is the one of long exposure. So longer is the exposure, more is likely that you get some this kind of hot pixel. And you can do nothing basically, so you can just remove them in post-production. There are now great tools to remove them. And actually, I'm post-producing my picture with Capture One, and there is a wonderful tool that I discovered thanks to Phil, one of my great photography buddy, that basically with just one slide is able to detect automatically all these kind of pixels. Unfortunately, it's a pain because you have to do it manually most of the time, but now software can help you. In the field, again, the only thing that you can do, and I can recommend, is to decrease, to decrease the ISO setting as low as you can. So ISO 50 for me was great, because in this way, even with a long exposure, it was not subject to too much pattern noise and random noise. Let's say the pattern noise is more related to the specific sensor, to the brand, to the engineering behind the sensor. Random noise is due to the ISO. So reducing the ISO, I was reducing this effect. Sorry for the long answer. I think we are really at the end, because I don't feel we have much more time. So, guys, thank you very much for coming. And again, here, if you want to contact me, I will be absolutely honored to reply you. And I really hope that you find something useful in this new webinar. And I hope to see you maybe here again, or in the field, taking picture together of a nice sunset, maybe in the UK, in Italy, or wherever you propose. So thank you, and enjoy the rest of the evening. Bye. Ciao, ciao.